Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And at the outset, I'll make it clear that I'll only be speaking for 7 minutes to allow 3 divisions to get done before adjournment. I just want to make that clear to the House. And Labor speakers, government speakers, will similarly be curtailed for the good operation of the House. Let me start by repeating what the Prime Minister has said repeatedly over the last few days. We stand by our policy commitments, including to make power bills cheaper through increasing renewable energy into the system. We stand by our policies. We stand by our policies. And these policies are part of our broader climate and energy policy package. And the rank hypocrisy of a political party to move this MPI, Deputy Speaker, on a day when the climate bills pass through the House of Representatives just demonstrates how irrelevant they are over there. On a historic day where every member of this chamber, except for the Liberal and National parties, was relevant, participated in a debate, made speeches, moved amendments, contributed to helping end the climate wars, those on the other side were stuck on repeat. They were stuck on Groundhog Day, stuck on perpetuating the climate wars, and in the end what those opposite did was voting against cheaper power prices. Those opposite voted against cheaper power prices through their actions today. And that's not a surprise, Deputy Speaker. That's not a surprise, Deputy Speaker, because you only have to look at their record in government. Whenever there's an opportunity to push power prices up, those opposite took it through their 22 energy policies. And I sadly don't have time to repeat all of them. We had the clean energy target. We had the emissions intensity policy that lasted for 12 hours. They had a policy that lasted for 12 hours. Josh Frydenberg got up in the morning, said, let's have an emissions intensity policy. By the afternoon, he'd abandoned it. We had Neg 1, Neg 2, Neg 3. We had UNGI and my favourite, the big stick. The big stick, that it was so effective, so effective. And what was the last act of the member for Hume when he was Energy Minister? What was the last pathetic, desperate act of the member for Hume in the last days of a tawdry, sordid 9-year-old government? It was to change the law to hide an almost 20% increase in power prices. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. Entirely characteristic of a man of that sort, Deputy Speaker. And it's not a surprise because in 2019 the member for Hume, the current Shadow Treasurer, we'll see how long he lasts. If he keeps accepting the questions his Tactics Committee give him, I don't think he's going to last too long. But in 2019 he promised that by the end of 2021 wholesale energy prices would be $70. $70. While wholesale energy prices averaged $106 by the end of 2021, guess what they were in the month of May? Were they $70? No. Were they even $100? Had he managed to keep them stable? No. They were $341 a megawatt hour, Deputy Speaker. So he managed to triple it, which is pretty good given his performance in other parts of his portfolio. And this was only one small part of his and that horrible, neglectful, decadent government's history. We saw 4 gigawatts of energy leave the system, with only 1 gigawatt coming in. We saw Snowy Hydro 2.0. We had Malcolm Turnbull's leather jacket moment, followed up by the member for Hume, who couldn't answer a question in this House on energy without referencing his relatives, who actually made a contribution. I will pay respect to his relatives who built something at Snowy Hydro, unlike the member for Hume. And we had $1 billion to support 3,800 megawatts of new power generation, where not $1 was delivered and not 1 watt was delivered. That's a great contribution. They were great at wasting money over there, but they couldn't even get the money out the door. That's how incompetent the last government was on energy policy. And now they're trying to wipe away the record. They're trying to wipe away the record. They're trying to apply a bit of Mr Sheen to their record, wipe it away with a bit of spit and polish, a bit of Mr Sheen, Deputy Speaker. But the truth is they lost the election. They lost the election. They had their heartland wiped out. They lost their blue ribbon seats because of their obsession with the climate wars, with 22 energy policies, and now they're trying to wipe it out. And now they're starting to think about their future. Now, when you've just been wiped out, when you've lost your heartland, when you want to start thinking about the future, who do you consult? Are there some young dynamos in their party room who are going to drive this? Is it maybe an energy minister about to leave Parliament? Who do you get to talk about the future for the Liberal Party? John Howard. John Howard. Oh, you love him, obviously, but if he's got the recipe for the future, you better get very used to sitting over there. So you get John Howard to chart out your future, and then you go to a safe spot. When you have trauma, you go to a safe place. That's natural. And their safe place is nuclear power, nuclear energy. Whenever they get in trouble, they grip it. And the member for Fairfax is obsessed with it. He loves it. He's obsessed with it. And what does it mean for power prices? Well, the CSIRO came out with their power price research, and they found that firmed-up renewables, $46 a megawatt hour. Firmed-up renewables, $46 a megawatt hour. Coal, $141 a megawatt hour. So if this is their grand plan, if this is their policy, if this is their vision to get relevant again, you'd think nuclear power might be cheaper than renewable energy, might be under $41. Well, it's only $326 a megawatt hour, only 7 times the cost of firmed-up renewables. That's a great effort. I seriously thought before we saw the member for Fairfax that their lowest was the member for Hume. That was the bottom of the barrel. But now the Shadow Minister for Energy is really taking the cake. So this is what this debate is at the moment. Those on the government side, we've just passed a bill that will end the climate wars, that will give investors certainty, that will allow investors to invest in the clean energy of the future, that will drive cheaper power prices, that will drive $604,000 new jobs. Those on the opposite side stand for higher power prices and policy irrelevance.